Do you truly possess dominion over your existence? Pause and reflect deeply before answering. Were your desires, beliefs, and fears born from your own volition, or were they subtly woven into your being by your family, the prevailing societal norms, or perhaps even by experiences buried deep within the recesses of your forgotten past? We all yearn to believe in our own autonomy, in the illusion that our choices are the product of a rational, independent mind. But what if this cherished freedom is merely a meticulously crafted deception? Carl Jung held a perspective on the human psyche that could be perceived as unsettling. He posited that much of what we attribute to free will is simply a reflection of the unconscious, a stage upon which shadows dance, leading us to believe we are in control, while in reality, we are guided by unseen forces within us. Have you ever pondered why you find yourself repeating the same errors, drawn to similar personalities, or inadvertently sabotaging your own pursuit of happiness? If your free will were absolute, why would you consistently make choices that lead to suffering? The unvarnished truth is that many of the decisions you make were predetermined long before you became aware of them. Your formative childhood experiences programmed you. The traumas you have buried deeply shape your interactions with the world. The emotions you consciously avoid wield immense influence over every facet of your life. And the most disconcerting aspect of all, your unconscious is invested in maintaining the status quo. It resists change. It seeks to prevent your awakening. Jung famously stated, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." But what are the true implications of this statement? What unseen forces are manipulating you from behind the curtain of your own mind? And more importantly, is there a path to shatter this illusion and reclaim control over your own life narrative? If you believe you already possess the answers, reconsider your assumptions, for what you are about to uncover may irrevocably alter your perception of yourself. If you genuinely wielded free will, why do you so frequently feel ensnared in recurring patterns? Why, despite your fervent promises to be different, to make better choices this time, do you inevitably find yourself spiraling back into the same destructive cycles? The solution does not lie in sheer willpower or superior reasoning. It resides in something far more profound: your unconscious. Carl Jung understood that the unconscious is not merely a repository for forgotten memories or suppressed thoughts. It is a vibrant, dynamic force operating silently behind the scenes of your mind, influencing your decisions long before they register in your conscious awareness. It manifests in sudden impulses, inexplicable intuitions, and that unsettling feeling of déjà vu, that sensation of having lived through a particular moment before. Imagine an iceberg. Your conscious mind, the part you identify as you, your ego, your personality, is merely the visible tip extending above the water's surface. Beneath the surface, vastly larger and immeasurably more powerful, lies the submerged bulk of the iceberg, your unconscious. It holds not only memories and past experiences, but also deeply ingrained conditioning that you absorbed without conscious recognition. The values espoused by your family, the prevailing norms of society, the beliefs instilled in you during childhood. All these elements become integral components of your decision-making framework, even if you have never critically examined their validity for your own life. Consider this scenario: an individual who consistently finds themselves falling in love with people who inflict emotional pain. Subconsciously, this person desires a healthy, nurturing relationship. They vow to themselves that the next time will be different. Yet, before they realize it, they are once again caught in a destructive cycle of pain and heartbreak. Why? Because their unconscious has forged a link between love and suffering. Perhaps during their childhood, attention was only forthcoming when they were sad or vulnerable. Maybe they were raised in an environment where affection was intertwined with emotional instability. These experiences were imprinted deep within their mind, functioning like a hidden program running silently in the background. Consequently, without conscious awareness, this person repeatedly seeks out the same pattern, driven by the unconscious's primary directive, to maintain familiarity. The unconscious resists change. It is programmed to safeguard you within the patterns it recognizes as safe. This means that even when you believe you are making a rational, independent decision, your mind has already made the choice for you, long before your conscious awareness kicks in. But if this is the case, how can we disrupt this cycle? How can we liberate ourselves from this invisible prison that exerts control over our lives without our explicit knowledge? To comprehend this, we must delve into one of Jung's most challenging concepts, the shadow. The hidden aspect of your mind that exerts a profound influence over your actions. If there is an element within you that shapes your choices, without your conscious awareness, what then is your true nature? Do you genuinely know yourself? The answer may be more disturbing than you imagine. According to Jung, lurking within each of us exists a darker aspect, a repressed facet of our psyche that operates silently, exerting influence over our thoughts, emotions, and decisions. He designated this force the shadow. The shadow is not merely a philosophical construct or an abstract archetype. It is a tangible entity, as real as any conscious thought you experience, and it possesses far greater power over your life than you might care to admit. Reflect upon all the instances when you reacted in ways that you later found inexplicable. Those moments when you lost control, when you were overwhelmed by irrational hatred, when you sabotaged an opportunity you desperately desired. That surge of jealousy that seemed illogical, that wave of fear that defied reason, that clandestine pleasure derived from witnessing another's failure. These reactions do not originate from your rational self. They emanate from the shadow. From early childhood, we are taught to conceal certain aspects of ourselves. You cannot be selfish. You cannot express anger. You cannot be vulnerable. So, what do? We suppress these emotions and pretend they do not exist. We create a mask, a socially acceptable persona for the world, and convince ourselves that this idealized version represents our totality. However, what we repress does not simply vanish. On the contrary, it becomes amplified, fueled by the fact that the unconscious never forgets. It simply bides its time, patiently awaiting the opportune moment to seize control. And that is precisely what transpires. The shadow manifests in unexpected and often disruptive ways. It appears in our projections, when we condemn in others the very traits we refuse to acknowledge within ourselves. Have you ever noticed how particular behaviors exhibited by others deeply unsettle you? How that arrogant colleague provokes your ire, perhaps because they project a self-assurance you secretly crave. How someone who is excessively impulsive triggers your anger, possibly because you were conditioned to suppress your own desires. This is the shadow projecting itself onto others, but it also manifests in more insidious ways. It can incite self-sabotage, leading you to seek out situations that reinforce your deepest fears and transform your repressed desires into overwhelming obsessions. How many individuals spend their lives fleeing from something, only to inadvertently run directly towards it? The shadow guides them, unbeknownst to themselves. And here lies the crux of the matter. As long as you remain ignorant of your shadow, you will never truly be in control. You will delude yourself into believing that your decisions are your own, when, in reality, they are dictated by the very aspects of yourself that you consciously reject. You may imagine that you are charting your own destiny, but in actuality, you are merely adhering to an invisible script, penned by the parts of yourself that remain imprisoned in darkness. But if this is indeed the case, if hidden forces within us truly manipulate us, what about the external world? Are we also subject to conditioning from something even greater, something that exerts its influence from the moment we enter this world? To fully grasp this, we must look beyond our individual selves and question one of humanity's most cherished illusions, the notion that we are independent individuals within a free society. If your unconscious is already manipulating you on an individual level, imagine the implications when we factor in the impact of an entire society, programmed to control how you think, act, and even feel. From the moment of your birth, even before you developed conscious awareness, you were already being shaped by forces beyond your personal psyche. The world you inhabit, the culture that envelops you, the unspoken rules that dictate what is right and wrong. All of this coalesces to form a mental labyrinth from which few individuals manage to escape. Consider this. Did you consciously choose your beliefs, or were they subtly implanted within you through your family, your educational institutions, the media you consume, and the religious doctrines you were exposed to? From early childhood, you were instructed to adhere to specific norms, to avoid certain behaviors, and to yearn for specific things. You were not born with an inherent desire for a stable job, a beautiful house, and social acceptance. These were ideas that were injected into your psyche without your conscious recognition. You may believe that you want these things because they are considered normal. But the question that is rarely asked is, normal for whom? Society does not necessarily prioritize your development into a truly free individual. It prioritizes your conformity. It wants you to follow a predetermined path, a predictable cycle of education, employment, consumption, and obedience. And to ensure that you remain on this path, it employs one of the most potent mechanisms available: emotional programming. From a young age, you learn that deviating from the expected norms carries consequences. You learn to experience guilt when your thoughts diverge from those of the group. You learn to feel fear when you challenge authority. You learn to desire what everyone else desires, because the most severe punishment for the human mind is social isolation. But what happens when everyone around you has also undergone similar programming? We collectively create a system in which each individual reinforces the illusions of the others. Observe how social media promotes a vision of happiness predicated on consumption and external validation. You are led to believe that you must travel extensively, possess a perfect physique, and consistently achieve success, because if you fail to meet these standards, you will feel inadequate. But who established these standards? Why do you feel this pressure? The answer is straightforward. Because society has established this yardstick to measure your worth, and in doing so, has transformed you into a prisoner, perpetually chasing something that was never genuinely your desire. Perhaps the most blatant example of how we are controlled lies in the very concept of morality. Jung posited that much of what we classify as right and wrong is not derived from any absolute truth, but rather from collective conditioning. You adhere to rules that you have never questioned. You avoid certain behaviors, not because you have engaged in deep reflection about them, but because you were taught to fear or reject them. And the most treacherous aspect of this is that you believe that these rules represent your own choices. But what if all of this is merely a grand illusion? What if the freedom you believe you possess is nothing more than an invisible cage? If society has the capacity to manipulate your desires, your fears, and even your understanding of right and wrong, how can we trust any of the choices we make? Is there a path to break free from this cycle? To answer this question, Jung left us a clue, a place where the genuine yearnings of the soul reveal themselves without censorship, where masks fall away, and where we can perceive what truly governs us: dreams. If there exists a realm where the currents of social conditioning lose their grip, where the rules you follow in your waking life cease to apply, that realm is the world of dreams. Jung believed that dreams were far more than just meaningless fragments of imagination. They were direct messages from the unconscious, striving to reveal something that your conscious mind actively refuses to acknowledge. While we are awake, we wear masks, conform to established patterns, and rationalize our choices. But when we drift off to sleep, the truth surfaces. Reflect upon your own dreams. How often have you awakened from a bizarre dream, wondering, what on earth does that mean? Perhaps you dreamt that you were lost in a maze, endlessly circling back to the same point, unable to locate the exit. Or perhaps you dreamt that you were fleeing from something without knowing precisely what. Or, even more intriguingly, you dreamt of a version of yourself that seemed different, more uninhibited, more courageous, more authentic. These are not merely figments of your imagination. They are symbols, coded messages from your unconscious, illuminating what you consciously deny or cannot perceive. Jung recognized that our dreams frequently expose the desires and fears we repress. They unveil the aspects of ourselves that have been banished to the shadow, the impulses we suppress, the traumas we bury, the truths we are unprepared to confront. Imagine someone who has spent their entire life striving to be a good, controlled, and disciplined individual, but who, in their dreams, sees themselves engaging in impulsive, aggressive, or even illicit acts. Does this mean that this person is inherently bad? No. It signifies that there are facets of their psyche that have been repressed and are now seeking recognition and integration. Dreams reflect what truly moves us. Someone who feels content in their routine, but consistently dreams of being lost, may be repressing a deep-seated desire for change. Someone who, in their waking life, prides themselves on their rationality, but in their dreams, is overwhelmed by intense, uncontrolled emotions, may be suffocating essential aspects of themselves. The unconscious does not lie. It always finds a means of expression, but the most unsettling revelation is that dreams often expose the fact that our choices are not truly our own. How often have you dreamt that you were following a path, only to suddenly realize that you had no idea where you were heading, or that you were trapped within a strange house filled with doors, yet unable to escape? These images are metaphors for the reality of our waking lives. We follow directives without questioning their validity, trapped in cycles that feel familiar, yet without any understanding of their origins. The question that remains is, if our dreams serve as a window into our genuine desires and fears, what can we do with this knowledge? How can we leverage this symbolic language to reclaim control over our lives? The answer lies in what Jung considered the most significant process in human existence, a path that few dare to tread, the process of individuation. If everything you have learned thus far holds true, then you have never truly been free. Your choices have been influenced by the unconscious, your beliefs shaped by societal conditioning, and your hidden desires only revealed when you sleep. But if free will is, in fact, an illusion, does that mean we are destined to live as puppets, manipulated by forces beyond our control? Jung believed otherwise. He knew that a pathway existed to break free from this invisible cycle, but that pathway is fraught with challenges. It requires you to confront the most difficult truth of all, the truth about yourself. This process is known as individuation, and it represents your only opportunity to become genuinely free. Individuation is the process of integrating all aspects of your psyche. This involves confronting your shadow and acknowledging the aspects of yourself that you are afraid to accept. It means questioning the beliefs you hold as your own, which, in reality, were implanted by others. It signifies recognizing that many of the things you desire may not be your genuine aspirations, but rather reflections of what you were taught to want. The initial step towards shattering the illusion of free will is to accept that you are not as much in control as you believe. As long as you persist in believing that your decisions are purely rational, that your fears have no influence over you, that your past does not shape your present reactions, you will remain a prisoner, oblivious to the fact that you are confined within a cell. The subsequent step involves illuminating everything that is concealed within the unconscious. This means observing your automatic reactions, your repetitive patterns, the instances when you act without conscious thought. It means paying close attention to your dreams, as they carry messages that your conscious mind ignores. It means reflecting upon the behaviors of others that irritate you the most, as they often serve as a mirror reflecting the repressed aspects within yourself. However, the third step is the most challenging of all, acting consciously against the conditioning that keeps you trapped. This involves challenging your ingrained beliefs, breaking free from patterns you follow unquestioningly, choosing paths that may frighten you, yet resonate with your authentic self. This marks the moment when you begin to sculpt your own existence, rather than simply reacting to what has been imposed upon you. Individuation is not a destination, it is a continuous journey. You will never reach a point of complete wholeness, as your psyche is a dynamic, ever-evolving entity. However, each step you take on this path represents the reclamation of a piece of your true self, a piece that was once concealed by the shadows of the unconscious. And now we arrive at the ultimate question. If the majority of individuals traverse their entire lives without ever recognizing this invisible prison, what becomes of those who perceive the truth? If you dare to peer beyond the veil and perceive the illusion of free will, how will this transform your life? And more importantly, how will it alter the way others perceive you? Most people will never realize they are trapped. They will spend their entire lives following an invisible script, believing that their choices are their own, that their desires are authentic, that their beliefs are the product of an independent mind. And perhaps this is for the best, as perceiving the truth comes at a price. Once you recognize the illusion, there is no turning back. Jung understood that awakening to the reality of the unconscious brings not comfort, but discomfort. When you comprehend that a substantial portion of your life has been controlled by forces you could not perceive, a peculiar sensation arises, a mixture of liberation and trepidation. You are no longer merely a pawn on the board, but now bear the responsibility of deciding who you truly want to be. And that prospect can be terrifying. Observe the people around you. Notice how many of them remain trapped within the same patterns, repeating the same mistakes, rationalizing their actions without ever questioning the underlying causes of their behaviors. They believe they are in control. They believe they know who they are. But you now understand that it is not quite so simple. The unconscious wields greater influence than we are willing to acknowledge. And herein lies the true dilemma. What do you do with this newfound knowledge? You can ignore it and continue living as before, pretending you never glimpsed the truth. Or you can begin to apply what you have learned, observing your own impulses, challenging your beliefs, questioning your desires. But be forewarned, society does not favor those who awaken, because those who see beyond the illusion pose a threat to those who remain asleep. Now I pose this question to you. What was the defining moment in your life when you realized you were not truly in control? Was there a situation, a mistake, a recurring pattern that ultimately compelled you to question whether you genuinely possessed free will? Share your experience in the comments below. Your insights may inspire others to contemplate this crucial question. And more importantly, do not stop here. If you genuinely desire to understand how the mind operates and how these unseen forces continue to shape your life, delve deeper into this exploration. Your journey of self-discovery has only just begun, and the path ahead promises profound insights. So, as we've explored together, the idea of complete free will is a complex and perhaps even unsettling notion. The journey into the depths of our unconscious, illuminated by Jung's wisdom, reveals how deeply ingrained patterns, societal conditioning, and the ever-present shadow influence our choices. It's a reminder that true freedom isn't about denying these forces, but about understanding and integrating them to live a more conscious life. By embracing this journey towards individuation, we can strive for cognitive clarity and take ownership of our narrative. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What resonated with you the most from this exploration of free will and the unconscious? Do you have any questions about the shadow, societal conditioning, or anything else we discussed? Share your experiences, insights, or even just your initial reactions in the comments below. Let's create a conversation around conscious living and self-optimization. And if you found this neuroscience content thought-provoking and want to explore more about the human mind reprogramming, and mental health tools, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. We'll be diving deeper into topics like emotional intelligence, trauma recovery science, and how to cultivate a productivity mindset. Thanks for joining me on this journey.